time at KAS. I am your host, Kombat AllStar, and today we're going to be talking about DC Universe's Rebirth. That's right, just came out yesterday, and the Kombat Man got the review for it. So, if you don't want any spoilers, please save this video, watch it later, put it in your list for later on, so after you read it, and then come and watch the video. So if you're still here, obviously you don't care about spoilers, so here goes. The premise of the story, issue number 1 of DC Universe's Rebirth, basically starts off with Wally West, not the Wally West that we know now in the New 52, they're cousins. But hang on, bear with me now. So Wally West, the original Wally West, red hair, freckle-faced Wally West is trapped in the Speed Force, and this takes place after the Flashpoint paradox, years later, and Wally West, there's something coming. Something is coming. Wally is telling all of us that when the Speed Force, when Flash went back in time to save his mom, ironically enough, that's what's going on in the TV show right now. No spoiler alert. But I digress. He goes back in time to save his mom, and then it creates Flashpoint paradox, which is basically a ripple across time in the past and in the future, and it changes things, you know, so slightly. So like Bruce Wayne doesn't die. Bruce Wayne does die. I'm sorry. And instead of his mom and dad, actually go nuts. Thomas Wayne turns to Batman, and Martha Wayne turns into Joker. Turns to the Joker. So that's what happens. Stuff like that happens during the Flashpoint paradox. But this after he goes back in time to stop himself from running back in time to create the Flashpoint paradox. Multiverses. He actually, the timeline comes back together. So the timeline comes back together, and while it's forming, some mystery person takes 10 years away from the new timeline before it reforms again. So you have relationships that are gone, people are forgotten. Like, for example, in the comic, they were talking about how the Green Arrow and Black Canary, they hardly even know each other, but they feel like there was something there, even though they have no idea, because that decade of their lives with their relationship and everything, and that's gone now. So people like Wally West, for example, it impacts him the most because he was part of the Teen Titans, and he was forgotten about. He had his relationship with his fiance, Linda Park, which is ironically an actor on Enterprise, but that's another story. So basically the majority of his life that mattered is gone, and no one remembers him. So he's trying to get out of the Speed Force so he can warn everybody about what's going on. He visits Batman and a few others, and by the end of the comic, Barry ends up remembering him because he caused the paradox in the first place. So that's where the story kind of ends. Interesting story. I do like where it's going. I am not a fan. The reason why I like Flashpoint Paradox so much is because Flash is my favorite. It's centered around Flash. It was just amazing. But now I feel like they're using speed, so it's a little too much to explain big events. You know, they didn't need it with Blackest Night. They didn't need it with the other things they've done in the past. So I'm not quite sure why they keep using them for big events like this. But it seems like after the Flashpoint Paradox, they're using Flash for anything that happens big in the universe, which is fine, but kind of look at it as a crutch now. But I digress. All in all, it's a great story. I can't wait to get my hands on the second issue. There were, like I said, there was some really weird stuff that was happening. Like one of the weirdest things I found in the comic was the whole Wally West situation. I guess Iris had 2 brothers instead of 1. They had Daniel West, who of course was the Reverse Flash and is in prison and is the father of Wally West as we know him. And Wally West is a mixed kid in the comics, black and white, and he looks a lot like the guy, actually just like the guy from Arrow. So they did a great cast, not Arrow, but the Flash TV show. They did some great casting on that, but he looks just like him, and he's just discovering his power and everything in the Speed Force. So that's that Wally West. And the original Wally West was their great-grandfather, Wallace West. So both Wally Wests are named after their great-grandfather, Wallace West. So that happened. So the original Wally West, the one that we know from like Justice League, the original comics and everything, you know, freckle-faced, redhead Wally West, that's the one that people have forgotten about. And that's, you know, this happened all after the new 52. So, you know, that's why that's the way it is. And I like how they wrote it cleverly, because if you guys know, Barry Allen was the original Flash, and then all of a sudden Wally West came, and then New 52, it was all about Barry Allen again. In this comic, they explain it really well. They talk about how the Flash went missing, went MIA, and they kind of touch on that if you know your history in The Blackest Night already. Everyone thought he was dead, they mourned for him, and then Wally West ended up growing up and becoming the new Flash after he was Kid Flash. So we went from Kid Flash to the new Flash that was replacing Barry, and then, you know, the rest is history. But then he got lost in the Speed Force. Barry became the Flash again. He actually escaped the Speed Force, and a lot of different Flashes going on. So that is my whole rant on that. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great. I can't wait to see the next issue. The next issue should be pretty awesome. I think they're doing it every month. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong, but it's amazing. I love when comics do big things like this. I loved I don't read Marvel at all, because I just have my personal opinions about Marvel. But whenever they do a huge story arc, I'm all over it. I was all over X-Men vs. Avengers, the Civil War, every big thing that happens in the Marvel universe, all over it. Same thing with DC, all over it. Love Blackest Night, the New 52, all that stuff was just amazing. So I really can't wait to see what they do and what happens. So tell me what you think about the comic. Obviously, spoiler, either you don't care, you read it already, most of you probably read it already. Let me know what you think about the DC Universe Rebirth. I'm getting tongue-tied here. The DC Universe Rebirth. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. As always, like me on Twitter and Instagram and all that good stuff. And I just want to conversate with you guys, because this is a huge, huge event. Also, side notes, comiXology has a new thing, $5.99 a month, $6, unlimited comics. And it's basically a bin full of comics you get to read for free. A lot like Netflix, but more like a library. Anyway, like, subscribe, share, and until next time, y'all, so longeth.